If you're an overachiever, then today's episode is for you because chances are you have the number one mental disease of all overachievers, perfectionism. And today's episode is all about how we can free ourselves from this disgusting disease. All right, welcome to episode, 12 episodes in of Brolosophy. I am Mike Fio.
And I am Nick Fio.
And we are the Fio Bros.
And our intention with this podcast is super simple. Share practical wisdom for a happier, more fulfilling life.
Yes. This is something that I really, really, really struggle with. And it pains me a lot. It's probably my biggest pain point in this area of mental health in my life. It hasn't stopped tormenting me for my entire life. It makes me miserable. So I'm really excited about today's episode. I'm probably going to get kind of vulnerable on this bitch today.
Nice. Let's dive in, bro. Let's dive right in.
Yeah. So let's start with talking about what is perfectionism.
Yeah. What do you got for us? Being that you're someone who has experienced it so much, how would you define perfectionism?
Perfectionism is the feeling of never being enough, to put it simply. It's a blessing and a curse. And the reason why it's so common in overachievers and type A personalities is because the other side of the coin is the greatest blessing. No one is more driven than a perfectionist. Mm-hmm. We are the type that are willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done and to do it with the standard of supreme excellence. But sometimes we turn that standard of excellence into a standard of perfection, and anything below perfection makes us miserable.
That's interesting. So there's a difference between these two key words you're using, which are excellence and perfectionism.
Yeah, definitely.
And go a little deeper into that, because what is the difference there?
It's really excellence is, I think, when you're playing an infinite game, when you realize that like you did the best that you can and it's really great, but you realize that there's always room for improvement.
Yeah. So basically you have this mentality that you never arrive.
Right.
You're constantly on this journey, where the perfectionist has this false belief
that you can arrive.
Eventually they will have it all figured out and everything will fit perfectly into place.
Exactly. And this is something that the ancient Stoics, who we've studied a lot, have also written a lot about. And one of my favorite quotes from Seneca, when he was asked what he has taken away from all of his years of practicing Stoicism. And his answer was, "What progress, you ask, have I made? I have begun to be a friend to myself." And I find that so interesting. He didn't say that I've started to make more money or I've started to be happier. He used these exact words because he himself was an overachiever.
Okay. So my question to you is, how do you make the connection to perfectionism and this quote about being a friend to yourself? Where is the connection point there? So are you saying when you are in that mentality of being a perfectionist, a lot of times you're not a friend to yourself?
Every time. It's not a lot of times.
How is that so?
Because your self-talk is horrible.
Okay, so
you are the one deciding that you are not enough.
What does the self-talk of a perfectionist sound like?
You suck. You're never going to be good enough. You're a piece of shit. I mean, it could get really dark really quick, for me at least.
Wow.
Yeah. And the truth is that we operate as if achievement in all areas of life is going to make us feel complete. So we chase the six-pack abs. We chase the millions of dollars in the bank, the millions of dollars a year, the beautiful wife, the trophy wife. We want it all. Health, wealth, relationships. But at the end of the day, I speak for myself, will always be miserable as long as I treat myself like shit. As long as I operate with perfectionism and I have that self-talk that I am not good enough unless every single thing in my life is perfect.
Yeah.
I will always be miserable because nothing is ever perfect. Perfection does not exist.
That reminds me of something we talked about in the past about like money, where like if you're not happy without the money now, getting the more money won't necessarily make you more happy. Yes, it'll like solve for some of your problems that you have, right? Some of your challenges that you're facing, but your happiness is really that relationship that you have with yourself. And if you don't have a good relationship with yourself when you have nothing, when you have everything, that shitty relationship with yourself is still going to exist. Yeah. So it doesn't matter how many more shiny objects you have around you. If your relationship isn't good with yourself, if that self-talk isn't good, you're going to be unhappy. Exactly. You're going to be a miserable person deep down inside.
Right. So let's transition here. Nick, how do we beat this disease of perfectionism? How do we become a friend to ourselves, in your opinion?
We're saying that self-talk is causing this, right? So the question then becomes, how do we change that self-talk? How do we change that relationship we have with ourselves? How do we rewire our brains?
And where does it come from in the first place?
First place? So that is a matter of going deep, right? And you've had some experience with this recently working with our coach, Ron. You want to talk a little bit about that and how that's helped you with the rewiring?
Yeah, I've realized.
Yeah, so basically, let me kind of tee you up here. You've realized that you have this perfectionist gene in you, whatever you want to call it, and you've been getting help from our coach, Ron, and you're trying to uncover, where did this perfection gene come from? Well, not gene. Where did this perfectionist mentality come from? Where did this belief system inside of you stem from? So you've been peeling back the onion with Ron.
The perfectionism really comes from feeling like you are not enough. Like you're not living up to this idealistic image of perfection. And growing up, I was the youngest of our 4 siblings, and I was like the golden child of the family. I was the one who did everything great. Mom to this day still says, "You're the MVP of every sports team you were on. You got all hundreds on every single test. You were the best." Da 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 da. So she created this identity in me that I am perfect. She made me grow up believing, well, my parents and whatever, my environment as a child made me grow up to believe that I am perfect, or at least I need to be perfect. And so as time went on, I started to actually believe that I needed to be perfect in order to be loved. And that if I wasn't perfect, if my actions and my circumstances and my achievements weren't aligning with the identity that I was given as a child, that I am the star child, that I am the perfect child, that I am this overachiever, amazing at everything I do, then I would not be loved. I would lose love. And that fear of losing love is running everything. That is where it really comes from. I mean,
do you think a part of it was that so much of your success when you were younger came so easy to you? So then it forced you to develop this fixed mentality of like, this is how it is.
Yeah.
It is so easy. And where for me, right, the opposite end of the spectrum, I struggled a lot as a kid, right?
Yeah.
So I was always had to be striving to get better, right? So it almost like I was forced into the growth mindset, and you were almost thrust into the fixed mindset because it came so easy to you.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And as things started to get harder, because life just works that way, what ended up happening was, you going back to this self-talk thing that you talked about being the solution and the fix. My self-talk got more and more vicious. And it's almost like a horse with the jockey with the horse. It's like you whip the horse to make it go faster, and they're choosing between the carrot and the stick. They're choosing the stick, go faster. that is kind of what ended up happening with me. I had this self-talk where I hit myself with the stick. Like if I got a 99 instead of 100, I'd hit myself with the stick because I was so terrified of losing my identity. Because you got to keep peeling back the onion. Why was I so terrified of losing my identity? Because I was scared that it meant that I would no longer be loved. Because I was taught that love happened when I brought home the 100.
Which, if you look deep, though, do you think that's really true in the sense of like,
No.
mom wouldn't have loved you?
No,
Or dad wouldn't have?
Absolutely
So
not.
there's let's get clear on that. It's not it was a belief, but it wasn't true.
No. I wouldn't say
Because
that.
I feel like we hit the parent jackpot. We got, yes, our parents obviously make mistakes like all parents do.
Yeah.
But they gave us one of the greatest gifts of all, which is constant unconditional love.
Yeah, I agree. No, it isn't true. And that's part of the work that I'm doing with our coach, Ron, who you talked about. It's being more aware of my self-talk, finding the origin stories that created these beliefs, understanding how this all came to be, understanding why I have these beliefs, coming to terms with the fact that they're not true, and working on the self-talk every single day. And what I've realized as I've talked more kindly to myself, the way that I treat other people, I'm a nice guy. I treat everyone else with so much compassion and kindness. Like, I'm a really nice guy. Sometimes I give the harsh truth, but as a good friend, not as someone who's a dick. And I started treating myself with that same treatment I was giving a friend. And I noticed that I actually started achieving more. I started becoming more disciplined. I started getting into the best shape of my life. I started having more confidence at work and doing even more and wanting more. So I'm realizing that the ambition is not coming from the perfectionism. It's not coming from the perfectionism. It was there already. It's who I am. That drive is who I am. And beating myself up is not making me go faster. It's actually holding me back.
I want to hit rewind on something you said, because I think I'll start by saying you are an extremely kind person. But I think one thing I've realized in life is sometimes we're kindness to the people that are most outside of our circle, right? And
You're
then
about to say that I'm a dick to you.
sometimes, basically, what I'm trying to say is this: when you are a dick to yourself, you become a dick to me.
Absolutely. I won't deny that.
And that's what I mean by, like, yes, you treat everyone kindly, but it's interesting, this dynamic that we have. Everyone has it, right? It's like the people closest to us, it's hardest to treat them with that kindness. And we treat the person that we meet online at Starbucks kinder than we do our own brother, spouse, or whatever.
It reminds
it
me
is.
of the Wolf of Wall Street scene where he picks up the phone, the dad. He's cursing up a storm in his house, and he picks up the phone.
Who the fuck has the goddamn gall to call his house on a Tuesday night? God damn it!
You're gonna miss it!
Oh, please tell me something I don't know. I wait all week for the fucking equalizer, and they have to fucking... Hello?
Why does that remind you?
Because he's like in front of his family, he's cursing like an animal, being an angry animal, and then he picks up the phone for a stranger. And he's all kind.
I get what you're saying. But yeah, no, I completely agree. All right, so diving into what you're saying, so you're doing this work right now with Ron, you're trying to rewire this self-talk. How is it going? And like, what are the solutions that you've come to? Like, how do we make this transition away from negative self-talk to empowering self-talk?
It's a process. There's no silver bullet.
That's great.
There's no silver
advice.
bullet. There is no like hack to this one. This video does not contain a hack. This video does not contain anything that's going to solve everything overnight. There's no 20-minute promise here. It's really a process, and a lot of it takes practice, just like anything. Like, you have to put the intention out to be kinder to yourself. It starts with an intention. It starts with an awareness.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said about it's a process, it takes time and all that. And I think there is a little hack though.
Tell me,
And
you're
this
the
hack,
good one at it.
This
I'm the
is
one who sucks. Why are you asking me?
This isn't even courtesy of me. This is courtesy of our Brazilian barber friend, Leo.
Okay.
70-year-old barber from Brazil. Always filled with energy, filled with life, happiness, joy. Every person he meets feels his love. And we asked him one day, Leo, how are you so happy all the time? And he goes, you remember what he said? He goes, every morning I wake up, I look at myself in the mirror, and I say, I love you. And think about what we're saying here. This is self-talk. Every morning he's having this meta conversation, looking himself in the eyes, right? And saying, I love you. And because he loved himself so much, everyone that came around him felt that love.
Yeah. I think that that's great, and like affirmations are awesome and they're helpful, but I really think the more important thing is to find the origin. Because that's like a Band-Aid.
I completely agree.
That's a Band-Aid.
But I think this is a great opportunity to end it. It's like, it's how we constantly look at everything, right?
Yeah.
It's the high-low approach, right? What's the long-term thing, and then what's the short-term thing? How can we do both at the same time?
Yeah.
Because there's no reason not to.
Yeah. So I'll start with, so we'll wrap up with the call to actions here. I'll start with what I think is the more important one. I think you need to get to the root of
What's causing.
how did you start to get this belief in the first place? And your belief, if I had to guess, I'd probably put a bet, probably sounds a lot like mine, which is I need to be perfect in order to be loved. I would bet money that that's 90% of the perfectionist.
But even if that is it, you still need to dive deep
Yeah, no.
into...
I'm not saying you figured it out.
No,
If that's it. No, not at all. Not by any means.
figuring
I'm
out-
trying. I'm imploring people. Is that a word? Imploring? I don't know. Whatever. I am getting people to.
Yeah, let's stick to the basic bro language that we...
Yeah, I'm trying to get you, whoever's listening, or I'll look here, to go into your past and find out how you learned that you need to be perfect in order to be loved. That you need to be perfect, because the truth is that you are not perfect. You are perfectly imperfect. And you are loved, and you are enough, and everyone is enough just the way that they are. Not for what they do or their six-pack or how much money they make or what they do for others or any of that shit, but just simply for their character, for their kindness in their heart, and just because they were made in God's image. I don't know if you're religious or not. For their existence, exactly. There's a piece of the divine in all of us, is what I'm trying to say.
Beautifully
But to go to the call to action, I actually would recommend either hiring a therapist or a life coach or someone that you trust that can help you to do this work, because I've tried doing it alone. I've journaled for 8 years, and no one has been able to help me really uncover the origin story with as much depth and nuance and skill as our coach Ron. Like, he's really it's like I'm performing surgery with him, and I've never had that experience before, and it's really, really worth it. If you can find someone that you trust and that you can know is really freaking experienced at this, highly recommend getting either a therapist or a coach, whatever works for you, and really getting to that origin, because when you understand the origin, you can start to really fix from the inside out.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to keep putting Band-Aids. Like, you need to get to the root, and then once you get to the global root, shit starts happening at the top on its own, and you don't have to work so hard. But getting to the root is the hard work. That's my call to action.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. And I think it's great advice. Getting a therapist or a coach to explore that is definitely going to unlock.
Yeah, get to your origin story.
Yeah. And I'll just say mine again. It's that Band-Aid approach, but I think it really, if you can do it consistently, like that drip mentality, if you can wake up every day for the next 365 days and look yourself in the mirror and look yourself in the eyes and say those magic words.
Yeah.
I love you just the way you are. You are enough right now.
You know what's beautiful about what you're saying? It goes perfectly with my call to action, because the more you do this work, the easier that becomes and the more truthful it becomes.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Even if you in the beginning.
It doesn't
You're
feel
looking in the mirror and you don't even believe the words. It
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
I agree with
Just
you.
keep doing it every single day and while you're doing that work until eventually you feel that change happen where it's like, holy shit, I really do love this person I'm looking at in the mirror.
Yeah.
And breakthroughs await.
All right, we'll conclude on that. Love you. Thanks for joining us.
Peace. Good shit.
As you can tell, I got serious work to do.
Later.